Afternoon and welcome everyone. I'm Wright, Chair of the Cannabis Control Board. Seeing that we have all the board members present or participating remotely, I'm pleased to call to order another meeting of the Cannabis Control Board and to welcome all of you who are participating via real-time live stream. This meeting will be recorded and the recording and transcript will be available to the public on the OCM website, cannabis.ny.gov. Information on Cannabis Control Board meetings generally is available in the designated section of the OCM website. Today's agenda includes several items that we're excited to tackle. These include some welcoming and brief remarks from myself, review and approval of the meeting minutes from our Cannabis Control Board meeting held on June 1st, consideration of the conditional adult use processor application and licensing window, consideration of the adult use cultivator licenses, consideration of our Chief Equity Officer candidate, statement from Board Member McDaniel, a report from the Office of Cannabis Management's Executive Director, and then we'll adjourn. Let's begin with an update on the Seeding Opportunity Initiative. Through this initiative, we have already approved 162 adult use conditional cultivator licenses. These licensees are cultivating the first regulated adult use cannabis in New York State, and more licenses are being considered today. Yesterday, under the leadership of Board Member Ruben McDaniel, DASNY announced that Social Equity Impact Ventures, LLC, a premier Black-led investment team, will serve as the fund manager for the $200 million Social Equity Investment Fund. Fund manager, Social Equity Impact Ventures, LLC, is a joint venture between Chris Weber, former NBA All-Star and current manager of a cannabis investment fund, and Siebert William Shank, one of the largest minority investment firms in the country, whose leadership includes financial leader Suzanne Shank and former City Comptroller William Thompson. Then today, we will continue to build out the Seeding Opportunity Initiative as we discuss and review the proposed adult use conditional processor application and the opening of the licensing window for our processor licensees. We anticipate the participation of these processors in the New York cannabis industry. We look forward to them processing, packaging, and distributing products to the retail dispensaries that are planned to come online through our Seeding Opportunity Initiative this fall. And lastly, we will also discuss the Executive Director's proposal for Chief Equity Officer, a much anticipated step towards fulfilling the equity goals in New York's cannabis law. Now let's move on to the first item of business on the agenda, the review and approval of the meeting minutes from the June 1st Cannabis Control Board meeting. However, before we move much further into today's proceedings, I would like to make some brief remarks about the Open Meetings Law. As stated at every board meeting, the Cannabis Control Board is subject to the Open Meetings Law to ensure the greatest levels of transparency and public participation in the affairs of government. Due to the ongoing pandemic, we have requested that members of the public join us via video conference, which we will continue to offer to keep the public and members of this body safe. Now I'll read a brief statement on the Open Meetings Law into the record. Pursuant to Chapter 1 of the Laws of 2022, enacted on January 14th, 2022, board members may continue to fully participate in meetings via video conference from locations that are not open to the public, provided that the public has the ability to view or listen to such proceedings and the meetings are being recorded and later transcribed. The public was provided with information on how to access this meeting within the public meeting notice distributed to members of the press and posted on the OCM website. A recording of this meeting, together with the transcript, will also be available on the OCM website. Previous recordings, meeting minutes, and transcripts are archived on the site as well. Please note there is a designated tab on the website entitled Board Meetings. This provides access to all of that information. That said, I'd like to return to the current agenda item. May I please have a motion to approve the June 1st, 2022 board meeting minutes?
Make that motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion by any board members? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And the motion to approve the June 1st, 2022 board meeting minutes carries. Concerning the next order of business, may I please have a motion to consider and approve resolution number 2022-17, a resolution approving proposed adult use conditional processor application and licensing window.
I will make that motion.
Thank you. May I have a second? Looks like Adam Perry made the second. Thank you. And at this time, then I'd like to ask our executive director to please provide a brief overview of the conditional processor license and the opening of the application window.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, board members and members of the public. The conditional processors whose licensing application and application window opening would be advanced with your approval today play an important link in the seeding opportunity initiative between New York's farmers who are currently growing adult use cannabis and the business owners, the justice-involved business owners and their family members who will sell it at dispensaries later this year. These conditional processor licenses were made possible by the same law signed by the governor in February that made the conditional cultivator licenses possible. With this license, processors will be able to take the plant material grown by New York farmers through the Seeding Opportunity Initiative, manufacture products from edibles to tinctures, and distribute those products to retailers. Holders of a conditional processing license must already hold a cannabinoid hemp processing license and have applied for it prior to January 1st, 2022. As a condition of the license, processors must also participate in a mentorship program that will create pathways to opportunity for social equity applicants and develop an environmental sustainability plan. If you approve the resolution before you, the application window will open next Tuesday on June 28th and close on August 31st. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any additional questions you may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion from the board members regarding these rights? I'm sorry, this application. Okay. Hearing none, then I will call for a vote. Ms. Metzger?
Aye.
Ms. Garcia?
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
Aye. The motion to approve resolution 2022-17, use conditional processor application and licensing window carries. And now for our next, yes. We're rolling it out. Now for our next item of business, the consideration of our current batch of conditional cultivator applicants. May I please have a motion to consider and approve resolution number 2022-18, resolution approving conditional cultivator applications for licensure.
So moved.
First, may I have a second?
Second.
Now, I'd like to ask Mr. Alexander, can you please provide us with an overview of these applications?
Absolutely, Madam Chair. Today we have 41 more applicants for the adult use conditional cultivator license in front of the board for approval. As stated earlier, these licensees will continue to support the growth and development of New York's markets. These folks are small farmers who have now taken the first step in producing the full adult use supply chain here in New York through the Seeding Opportunity Initiative. The applications are approved today. We'll have 203 approved cultivators in the program and in the state of New York. The initial batch of farmers are already at work within the Social Equity Investment Fund management team. The first approved farmers are already at work growing product to supply the Seeding Opportunity Initiative. And with the announcement of the Social Equity Investment Fund management team, we're excited to get this initiative up into the next stages. That's all.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or comments, questions regarding these applicants? Yes.
I know we are closing the applications on 30th, right? How many more do we think we might have between now and then?
We received upwards of over 250 applications. This gets us to 203. So probably, it's hard to give a ballpark. Folks have to complete their background check and complete going through providing additional request information with the office. But we likely will have one more meeting to.
Okay, wonderful.
If there aren't any more questions or comments, I'm going to call for a vote. Ms. Metzger,
Aye.
Ms. Garcia. See a hand.
Sorry, aye.
Mr. McDaniel.
Aye.
Mr. Perry.
Aye.
And aye. The motion to approve resolution number 2022-18, resolution approving conditional cultivator applications for licensure carries. And the next item of business before us today is the consideration of a chief equity officer. May I please have a motion to consider and approve resolution number 2022-19 for Damian Fagan to assume the role of chief equity officer.
I'll make that motion.
First, may I have a second?
I will enthusiastically second that.
Thank you. And now, Mr. Alexander, can you please provide us with a little bit of background regarding Mr. Fagan?
Absolutely. And first, I want to emphasize the importance of the role that Damian is stepping into. The Chief Equity Officer, one of the key positions identified in the statute in the MRTA, that is now the cannabis law, is an impactful position responsible for anchoring the Office of Cannabis Management to the goals of equity and justice laid out for us in New York's cannabis law. Not only will Damian serve as a watchdog to make sure the agency is on task, meeting those equity goals and principles, but he also is charged with the development of the social and economic equity plan that will continue to guide the agency as we move forward as we continue to develop New York's adult use market. So I want to say a bit about Damian. He is a farmer, he's an entrepreneur, he's a policy wonk like myself, and he's had first-hand experience navigating the cannabis industry. That experience will be incredibly valuable to our team as we make sure New York establishes the most equitable and inclusive cannabis marketplace in the country. This office will be greatly served by his appointment, and the state of New York will as well. So, excited.
Thank you, Chris.
Feels like draft day. Thank you.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any questions or comments from any of the board members?
I will just make a comment that your experience, Damian, brings an incredible amount of experience. Everything that you said, Chris, but also, your work at the intersection of equity, sustainability, workforce development, all that experience is so important to this program. And that kind of broad experience is hard to find. And so I feel we're very fortunate to have you. So eventually, in a moment.
Ruben?
Just echoing the sentiments of both Chris and Jen. I was talking to Stanley earlier, and one of the things that has driven our staff to do such great work to date is the passion for the project itself. And you can see that in everybody we talk to from top to bottom. And Damian brings that same passion. So I think in addition to all the criteria, which are critical, that passion, we'll look forward to having that as part of the team. And you have a lot of work to do, but I know you can get it done. So really appreciate it. Look forward to having you on board.
Additional comments? So I'm going to move us along so we can get to the moment we're all waiting for here. I'm going to call for a vote. Ms. Metzger?
Aye.
Ms. Garcia?
Aye.
McDaniel?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
And I vote in favor as well. So the motion to approve resolution number 2022-19 for Damian Fagan to assume the role of Chief Equity Officer carries. And now I'd like,
I'd like to give David a chance, our newly confirmed Chief Equity Officer, the opportunity to say a couple of remarks about this moment and task ahead.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to the Cannabis Control Board. It is an honor to sit here today with you guys on the occasion of my appointment as Chief Equity Officer for the Office of Cannabis Management. I would like, first of all, to very sincerely thank the chairwoman and the members of the board who have put their trust in me for this critically important role. My name is Damian Fagan. I'm a native of Southeast Washington, D.C., and I've called New York my home for the past 8 years. But my ties to this state extend a little beyond there. From a small farm in the hills of central Jamaica, my family has immigrated to New York in search of opportunity for decades. Initially as farm workers as far back as the 1970s. From Monroe to Dutchess County, I dedicate the honor of this appointment to the legacy of my Uncle Ronald and to the outsized role that Jamaican migrant farm workers have played in growing New York's food for generations. I have worked in cannabis over the last 7 years in a number of different capacities. First, as a graduate economics student here in the city, researching the plant as an agricultural commodity to be leveraged in the service of bottom-up wealth generation for Black communities. While there, I also had the privilege of taking the final class ever taught by the late, great Mayor David Dinkins, whose dynamic retelling of this city's modern political history inspires me to this day. I spent the next 4 years launching and managing industrial hemp businesses from cultivation all the way through product development and sales, most notably with my own farm in Orange County, New York. I traveled extensively to legal markets out west to source genetics, study industry-leading production methods, and tour commercial-scale cultivation and manufacturing facilities. As is often the case, losses came hard and fast, success slowly and rarely, but I was always learning. My time as a cannabis farmer and a small business owner are at the heart of my qualifications for this role. I know firsthand how the challenges of fundraising, banking, regulatory compliance, and land access can be make or break for first-time cannabis entrepreneurs that look like me. Since the signing of the MRTA, I've worked to bring these lessons learned to New York's next generation of Black and brown cannabis operators. First, as the venture director at a leading work readiness nonprofit in the Hunts Point, building out a cannabis workforce development initiative for New Yorkers who face multiple barriers to employment. And as a CUNY adjunct, I taught the first college-accredited cannabis horticulture course in the history of this city. Sitting here today, I can honestly say that I have learned more about cannabis from the people of the South Bronx and Crown Heights than I ever did in Colorado. Finally, I've spent much of this past year organizing and building community across this state with hundreds of Black farmers, hemp growers, entrepreneurs, worker owners, legacy operators, and more than a few passionate consumers. I have heard your stories and I have come to the conclusion that most New Yorkers are all really looking for the same thing, a fair shot at building a business their communities and families can be proud of. The MRTA is a hard-fought progressive landmark without precedent. From the simplicity of its tiered and equity-driven licensure system to the hundreds of millions of dollars it commits to those communities most harmed under Prohibition, to the freedoms it affords consumers and hobbyists alike to keep their money and grow at home. The MRTA is as legislatively brilliant as it is morally righteous. It wouldn't be right to close out here today without thanking the bill's champions, Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes and Senator Liz Krueger, two incredible women who fought to put people before profits and laid the foundation for a truly equitable and inclusive cannabis industry. I am incredibly proud of all the work that has come before me, done by many of the leaders here in this room, and I am honored to have this opportunity to continue building with them. Thank you. Let's get to work.
Thank you, Mr. Fagan. As I think everyone can tell here, we're all very eager to work with you, to have you a part of the team, and we really look forward to moving forward together with you. However, for our next order of business, I'm going to turn it over to our board member, Mr. McDaniel, for a statement regarding the Social Equity Fund.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. As you mentioned earlier in your comments, yesterday was an exciting day. We announced publicly that we had appointed our fund manager. It's a joint venture between Chris Weber, who is an NBA All-Star, but also has been a real champion about cannabis generally. He's been an investor out in California and is someone who's also invested in the Michigan market, so he knows a lot about the cannabis business itself. He's committed to helping minorities and other entrepreneurs be successful in the cannabis industry. Siebert Williams Shanks, one of the leading investment banking firms in the country. Among other things, they manage $150-ish million fund to work with small minority businesses. Get on those things. So they also have the requisite experience on the fund management side, but the passion to help those entrepreneurs to be part of this program. So very excited about having them on board. We have a lot of work to do over the next 60 to 90 days around document preparation and fundraising, but all of that I think will go very, very well and very smooth. So I'm glad to have them on board. In addition, we have received the 21st, which I guess was Tuesday, we did a design build RFP for the firms that will actually build out the facilities around the state. We're going to pick a slate of design build firms. We had in excess of 20 respondents. A lot of them are very, very steered in building out cannabis locations in other parts of the country. So I'm sure that once the procurement process gets through, we'll have a slate of very good design build firms also to execute on getting these facilities built out. So I'm very excited about that response on the RFP side. Again, we were hopeful we get a good response. We got a better response than we expected. That's wonderful. And then finally, our real estate search continues. Process now of sending out letters of intent for various sites that we like and see, and really getting into negotiations. That's been exciting. Doing a lot of groundwork. We've had people on the ground all over the state. I think that we'll find some excellent locations and very excited about some of the preliminary terms and conditions we have for sites. So this is coming together very nicely. Very pleased with the fund and where we're going with that. And I think it will truly be something that is industry changing in the country. But also for our card members who are fortunate enough to win these licenses, they'll be able to hit the ground running, and New York will have a great kickoff to our adult use retail marketplace. I did want to read one thing in the record, and for my board members, given my dual role as president of DASNY and a board member, there will be certain things I will be recusing myself of as a board member, just to avoid any appearance of conflicts. These will be the review of applications and decision-making process around card licensees. I'll also recuse myself from the various documents that will need to be approved by this board, the MOU between DASNY and the Office of Cannabis Management, approval of the partnership agreement. I'll deal with my DASNY hat on, not my OCM hat on, and other various documents around the subsidiary. So I just want to let people know that keep those things separate. But I couldn't be more excited about our progress. It really is just talk about all the time, Axel. It's getting real. It's getting real. But this team of the asset managers could not be a better team, better fit, better qualified. Very fortunate.
Thank you. And I'm going to say just thank you to the entire team, because as you can see from today's agenda, we are completely moving the entire seeding opportunity initiative forward, and from every angle. We have it growing, we're processing, we're preparing for sales. We have a team coming together to make sure that the equity component is there to support applicants, future applicants, even those who will not participate in this first round, but are looking to get on board as we move this forward. We are, as you said, it looks really bright. The future is bright. This is a moment of opportunity for New York State, and we really do have a wonderful team pushing all of this forward together. So thank you, and thank all of you as well. However, as we move the agenda forward, I'm going to turn it over to Chris, our Executive Director, for the report, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I mentioned at our last meeting, our Get Ready, Get Set workshops to prepare eligible New Yorkers for the Conditional Adult Use Retail Dispensary Program is running. We are pleased to have had several outreach events across the state over the last several weeks, and we'll continue to do so as we prepare to open up or advance that program forward and eventually open up that licensing window. We're also hearing directly from communities who've been impacted regarding over-policing and the challenges they're having in getting into the market. We're focused on engaging individuals with cannabis convictions and community-based organizations to make sure they have all the resources that they need, all the information that they need as they prepare for this opportunity. We've, in this last couple of weeks, we've taken the program on the road with sessions in Schenectady, Brooklyn, and Albany. I'm heading to Rochester on Saturday, and we'll keep running around the state, making sure as many people know of the opportunity that's coming. And we'll do that through the summer to help everyone get ready and get set for the licensing opportunity. Also, as the chair mentioned when we started the meeting, and as Board Member McDaniel has just reviewed, we're very excited about the movement of the Social Equity Cannabis Investment Fund. As you know, the fund is a key component of the initiative that was proposed by Governor Hochul in her budget in January. And we're excited just to continue to support that. The board, in association with the development of that fund, other funds that will be run through this office, was the Cannabis Advisory Board was announced by the governor yesterday. We're excited of the members who are joining that board, who have a range of experience in government, in economic development, in public health, as well as in contacting and connecting with communities who've been disproportionately impacted by prohibition. So we're excited to see that board also get off the ground. They will assist Damien and his team in the creation of the social and economic equity plan, but their primary purpose is rolling out and overseeing the disbursement of the New York State Community Grants Reinvestment Fund, a separate fund that will support communities that have been impacted by prohibition and providing them with resources to develop job training and reentry services and programs, continuing adult education programs, as well as a slew of other economic development focused projects. So really excited to announce that the advisory board is also up and moving. They will have their first virtual meeting on June 30th, and folks can tune in to our website to see more information about how to participate. Also, on June 2nd, OCM released the first cannabis television ad in the nation focused on social equity. The ad calls attention to the state's goal of creating a diverse and inclusive industry and repairing harm done during cannabis prohibition. This PSA debuted during Game 1 of the NBA Finals and continues to air on TV, radio, and on social media. This is helping to ensure New Yorkers are aware of the steps that we are taking to incorporate all New Yorkers into the market that we are building. We'll now play the ad in English and then in Spanish.
Latino New Yorkers were 8 times more likely to be arrested for cannabis than white New Yorkers over the past 30 years. Black New Yorkers, 15 times more likely. White, black, or brown, data shows we all use cannabis at the same rate. Now New York has changed course and legalized cannabis for adults 21 and over. We are building an equitable industry that invests in communities. Learn more and visit cannabis.ny.gov.
En los últimos 30 años, los neoyorquinos latinos tenían 8 veces más probabilidades de ser arrestados por cannabis que los neoyorquinos blancos. Los datos muestran que sin importar tu raza, todos usamos cannabis en las mismas cantidades. Ahora Nueva York ha cambiado e inicia un nuevo camino con la legalización del cannabis para adultos mayores de 21 años. Estamos desarrollando una industria equitativa que invierte en la comunidad. Para más información visita cannabis.ny.gov.
Chris, just real quick before
Yes,
you
sir.
go on, I rode on the cannabis train this morning.
Yeah.
Second time being on the train wrapped by the cannabis ads, and just very nicely done. You know, well messaged, I think. So I just wanted to point that out and get a chance right
No, it's cool. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to give a big shout out to our policy, communications, and equity teams who have all assisted in the development of this ad and the other series of cannabis conversation ads. They've done a great job, and we're going to continue to make sure that the public knows as much as possible as we continue this journey. So I want to provide an update lastly on the medical cannabis program. When we started this work and this board and this office came together, we centered patient access as one of our priorities as we built out the rest of the industry. In the last few months, in the last few weeks, we've actually had a couple of issues for patients when they attempt to register with the program after being certified by a provider. Those reports came to our office from patients themselves, as well as our registered organizations who serve them. I'm happy to report an update to the patient registration system has been made, and this issue should now be behind us. Additional guidance has also been provided to the registered organizations to make sure that no patient interested in being served by the medical program is turned away. We're continuing to advance efforts to improve and strengthen the program, including the steps we took earlier this year to make the product more affordable by allowing whole flower and to allow additional conditions that patients are suffering from to be served by medical cannabis. I'm very excited to say that we're planning for the next meeting. Lastly, I'm very excited to say that we're planning for the next meeting to be in Buffalo and we're looking forward to continue to interact with every corner of the state. Thank you, Madam Chair, and that concludes my report today.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I
Comments?
just have a question. So, the workshops you're doing, are any of them being recorded? And can we put them on the, or at least one on the website?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have done that. We hosted a webinar about 3 or 4 weeks ago that is now posted on the website that walks interested applicants through the card criteria and the process and what is going to be evaluated by the team and the board. So that's accessible now. We can go to cannabis.ny.gov. Folks can go there to find the link for that webinar.
Any other comments? I guess at this time, I'd like to just note that the time, location, and a live stream link will be shared on cannabis.ny.gov as well in advance of our next Cannabis Control Board meeting, and a recording of today's meeting, our meeting minutes, and a transcription will be posted as well. So that concludes today's agenda items. So may I please have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Moved.
May I have a second? Second.
Second.
And is there any discussion, comment, question? Hearing, is that Jess raising her hand? Okay, sorry. Is there any, so hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion to adjourn this meeting carries, and I'm going to say thank you to everyone for joining us today. Adjourn.
Thank you.